Alrighty. So we're going to do a full body, full spine ELDOA series today. I'm going to try and go back to the tutorial method where we go through one set of everything. I take a little bit more time to break down each posture, discuss it, and then we'll just do one set, and then you can feel free to do up to 3 sets on your own. I recommend doing 3 sets or at least 2, but you know, if you're tight for time, even just going through one set. But this way we can focus more on tutorial and some details and go from there. So we're going to be doing L5S1 ELDOA, bottom of the lumbar spine where it meets the sacrum, and then we're going to go up to C4C5, the one that most commonly gets the wear and tear in the neck, and then moving down to our L3L4, apex of the lumbar spine. Alignment with the navel helps to neutralize your lumbar posture. From there, moving up to T6T7, the apex of the thoracic spine, the midpoint where we tend to get a lot of irritation from slouching posture. And then down to T8T9, which is the axis of rotation for the spine and also the one that's really good for building seated postural endurance. So before that, we'll go into a detailed spinal warm up. So we'll start off with some marching, just to get our heart rate up. And we're going to do our best to keep our knees up to at least hip level. Now as I do this, I like to prevent lateral sway. I want to make sure that I'm not swaying side to side. And so I'm going to think about having some length through the spine, lifting the rib cage up off the pelvis, thinking about reaching up through the top of the head. Now from here we're going to integrate some arm movement. So we're going to push the arms forward, out to the side, up overhead. Alright, and now what we're going to do is try and march faster, and then try to get the arms to move faster. And this helps to sync the left and right hemisphere of the brain, get your body into your mind. It's also really tricky to keep the patterning right. So this kind of helps to not only warm up your musculoskeletal system, but also warm up your nervous system, your coordination, your athleticism. Alright, now that we're a little bit warm, we're going to move into a Zen Twist. So this one helps to release paraspinal tension between each vertebrae. And this one's done very relaxed, kind of pivoting the feet like a golf swing, letting the arms swing. And now it shouldn't be too powerful. It should be really relaxed. You really want to try and feel the momentum. Drive this one, try to relax the spine. And you might start to notice where you feel restriction. For me, when I do this twist, I feel it in my mid-back. For those, it might be in the neck, it might even be in the hips. This exercise is one of the first things that I'll do if my back's starting to feel out, feels tight, or like something's not right. Because it's a very gentle, safe way to kind of warm things up, loosen things up a bit. You're also drawing a lot of blood into the periphery when you do this. Flowing the blood into the arms, into the legs. Alrighty, good stuff. From there, we're going to move into some lateral flexion. So feet are going to be hip width apart. Toes are going to be pointing forward like train tracks. From here, we're going to integrate our arms. So we're going to do our forward traction of the arms, wrist extension, external rotation. And we're going to reach up overhead. And you're going to reach up as hard as you can, really think like that. ELDOA, reach, feeling the fascia pull into the spine. Big inhale, and on the exhale, in a side bend. Inhale to center as tall as you can. Exhale, over to the other side. Do that about 10 times. Each repetition, try to go a little bit further. You notice that I'm going to try to avoid any kind of swaying in the pelvis. Everything's moving from the spine. From here, we're going to move into some lateral translation. So, again, feet hip width apart, toes pointing forward. Pelvis is going to stay engaged, or the core is going to stay engaged to keep the pelvis here. I don't want the pelvis to move, but we're going to focus on rib cage translation. So we maybe start here, with one fingertip on the pelvis and the thumb on the rib cage, and you can start to feel that. Now, if you can manage that without the hands, we can reach the arms up. We'll go with that wrist extension, external rotation again. And really reach. Reach. And this really helps to mobilize that lower T-spine, upper lumbar region. And now what we can do is we can add lateral flexion. So, lateral translation. Reach. Back to center. Lateral translation, reach. There we go. Cool. From here, we're going to move into our rotations. We're going to have both feet pointing forward. Pelvis. Actually, we're going to actually let the whole body move on this one. So we're going to reach the arms forward, and we're going to rotate. Look over the shoulder, come back to center, switch sides. Everything's twisting except for the feet. We're keeping the feet locked in place. This actually helps to rehabilitate supination in the feet. There we go. Cool. From here we're going to move into our split stance thoracic rotation. So we're going to work on isolating rotation for the T-spine. Put one foot in front of the other there. Pelvis is squared. We're going to have the arms across like this. And now the rib cage is going to rotate, but the pelvis is staying squared forward. And switch. So do about 10 of these. Inhale to center, extend the twist. Really think about the ab engagement here. I really like this exercise for warming up, firing up the obliques. Each repetition, trying to deepen the range. Staring forward, making sure the chin doesn't move, pelvis doesn't move. Just working through that T-spine. It's going to be quite tricky if you haven't done it before. It's kind of a skill set in itself. And we'll switch legs here. It's not like a deep lunge, just a little bit of offset helps you get control of the pelvis. Nice and tall. And then from here, staring, rib cage moves, pelvis doesn't move. If you keep your hands here, that might help to start. Or you can start to go here. So normal is totally different, one side to the other. The anterior oblique line. It's like hip internal rotators, abs across to the opposite pec. So we tend to dominate on one side compared to the other. All right, good stuff. What else did I want to do there? I think that's good for the spinal warm up. Yeah, okay, cool. We'll move into our actually, we'll do a squat to point actually before we do our L5S1. So squat to point, popular ballet exercise to release the posterior kinetic chain. Helps to rehabilitate your forward fold. For some of you, it will look more like a downward dog. For some of you, more like a handstand press. When we start off, we have our feet hip width apart, toes pointing forward. From here, we're just going to get low to the ground. We're going to come down to like a little squat. And then from here, we're going to reach the arms out in front. From this position, you're going to lock the knees, reach the heels down towards the ground. And to do that, you should feel a stretch in the calves and the hamstrings. And once you're in this position, we're going to do calf raise, keeping the knees locked, pointing up onto the toes, shifting the weight into the hands, and then coming back down. Heels, and then bend the knees and release. Lock the knees, calf raise, weight into the hands, and back down. Now, for those of you who are more flexible, start to walk your hands closer towards your feet. Lock the knees. Make sure the knees are locked. If they're not locked, you have to walk forward. And then calf raise, weight into the hands. Bend, extend, push. Bend, extend, push. Now, what will happen is as you get stronger and more flexible, you're able to walk your hands closer to your feet until eventually you can bend over and have your hands flat on the floor. It's a nice warm up before we go into our L5S1, which relies on our hamstring flexibility. Cool, so that's our warm up. Let's take a little bit of a quick break, grab yourself some water, and then I'll tutorial this series for today. So L5S1. For this one, you need a wall space. Something you put your feet up on, couch, whatever it may be. Now L5S1 is the bottom of the lumbar spine, where it meets the sacrum. This is what's most commonly herniated. We go to pick something up improperly and they herniate the disc. It's usually L5S1 or L4, L5. It's a great one for back rehab. So what we're going to do is first go into a sideline fetal position by the wall. That's like this. And the reason I do this is it allows me to get my butt right to the wall. And now I'm offset from the mat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll onto my back. Now as I roll onto the back, I'm going to bring my feet up onto the wall. I'm going to lock the knees. Now from this position, if you feel like your butt's lifting up off the ground because your hamstrings are tight, what you need to do is scoot your butt back away from the wall until you're able to securely place your sacrum into the ground while keeping the knees locked. From this position, we're going to pull the toes down towards you. Dorsiflexion. And now we're going to do internal rotation. From here, we're going to lock the sacrum into the floor, creating a fixed point by thinking about reaching up to the heels and countering that by pressing the sacrum into the ground, really locking that in. Now, I want you to keep the core relaxed, because if we contract the core muscles, we compress the lumbar spine, because they go between the pelvis and ribcage. So with the core relaxed, you're going to try and settle the rest of your spine into the floor as much as you can. We're going to tuck the chin, try to press the back of the neck into the ground. And now we're going to add a stretch from the dura mater, the protective sheath running along the spinal cord connecting to the cranium, by looking down between the knees and lifting the eyebrows up. Eyeballs down, eyebrows up. Now from here, we're reaching the arms up over the shoulders, towards the ceiling, spreading the blades off the ribcage, creating traction through the shoulder girdle. We're going to do wrist extension, external rotation. And now from here, we're going to reach the arms back overhead. You're going to reach so hard, you're trying to pull your arms off your shoulders, the shoulders off the shoulder blades off the rib cage, and the rib cage off the pelvis, thus decompressing the lumbar column. You're going to breathe as deeply as you can, while still maintaining maximal intensity. And literally trying to tear your body apart here. What I like to do is 10 deep breaths, 3-second inhale, 3-second exhale, which will bring us to a total of 1 minute. we'll ease out of that. And when you come out of ELDOA, you want to do it slowly, because we don't want to have a fascial rebound effect, kind of like a rubber band. So try to ease into it, ease out of it. Now from here, safest way to get out of this position, because we just decompress the spine when we rotate, is a vulnerable thing to do to the back. We're just going to think about flopping over like this. And then we can pick ourselves up off the ground. And that's your L5S1 tutorial. We're going to do a little circuit today. So right after the L5S1, we're going to go into the C4C5, which is generally just an area in the neck that gets a lot of wear and tear. Good forward head posture. So for this one, we're going to be lying on our backs. Now the traditional way of doing this is to have your knees hovering right up over the hips. Perform internal rotation, so the knees are pointing towards each other. Dorsiflexion and eversion, we call it. So if that's very difficult for the hips and you're getting irritation there, which it will for a lot of people, you're welcome to just bring your feet down onto the floor here, okay? Now from here, we're going to work on getting the whole spine into the ground. Now because we're not decompressing the low back on this one, I don't mind you using your core to help flatten the back there, create some pressure against the ground. And from here, we're going to try and get the whole rib cage settled into the ground, keeping the chin tucked, and trying to get the back of the neck onto the ground there. Now from here, we're going to look down between the knees and lift the eyebrows up again, bringing in that dura mater. And now from here, we're going to reach the arms up over the shoulders, wrist extension, external rotation. I want you to think about opposing tension between reaching up through the arms and countering that by tucking the chin into the throat. And from here, we're going to look down and keep trying to tuck the chin into the throat, creating length in the back of the neck until the head comes off the ground just a centimeter or so. Thinking about pulling your head up over your shoulders. Deep breathing here, and 10 deep breaths, 3 seconds in, 3 seconds out. And we can ease out of that nice and slow. That's your C4C5 ELDOA. We're going to go from the neck now back down towards the lumbar spine. So the L3L4 apex of the lumbar spine. If your hips are tight, you're welcome to use some blocks. Otherwise, we can do this just sitting on the floor. I'm going to offer myself some blocks today. Now, an old colleague of mine let me know that with the L3L4, with the arm position, instead of being here, we're supposed to actually be out to the side a little bit, which I think was taught to me incorrectly a long time ago, and there was a correction that I missed in like an email update or something. So for those of you who know, I'm going to do it just a little bit differently. Now, L3L4. First thing we're going to do is we're going to have our heels placed about fist width apart with a slight bend in the knees, only about 15 degrees or so. From here, we're going to perform dorsiflexion, pulling the toes up towards you. You're going to roll the legs out, really anchor the outside arches of the feet. And I want you to start to think about pulling through those outside arches of the feet. So externally rotate the legs and help bring the knees towards the ground. Now from here, we're going to perform our spinal lemma scan. So for that, we're going to anchor the sit bones. We're going to think about rolling the pelvis forward like you're trying to stick the butt out. And then you're going to counter that by pushing the ribs back. So it's pelvis forward, ribs back. You start to feel some pressure in your lumbar spine. That's what we're looking for. Now without letting the ribs pop back up, we're going to keep this pushed down, pelvis rolls forward, and now we're going to add, try to lift through the top of the breastbone. This is going to start to extend your thoracic spine. You start to feel pressure in your mid-back, but don't lose out low back flatness either. And now from here we're going to add the neck. So pelvis forward, ribs back, chest out, chin tucked into the throat, feeling pressure at the back of the neck. Well, we can grab onto the knees and start to continue to move this forward, back, almost like a snake going up the spine, creating length and counter tension. Once you've done that, we can reach both arms forward, spreading the blades off the rib cage, wrist extension, external rotation, and slowly reach the arms up overhead. Alright, oh, I'm bad now. This is the new correction. It's actually, we're going to go to the side. So we'll go here and up on a little bit wide. There we go. Really pushing out as hard as you can through the heels of the hands. Deep breathing. Continuing to think of that spinal luminous scap. For those of you a little bit more advanced, you can think of segmental luminous scap. L5 forward, L4 back, L3 forward, L2 back, etc. Up through the spine. I like to draw the breath to where we're working. So think about drawing it to the belly button level in the low back. And then easing out of that again, nice and slow, 1 arm at a time. There you go, that's your L3, L4 tutorial. Now we're going to move into our T6T7. So we did the apex of the lumbar spine, and we did the apex of the thoracic spine. This is a great one for slouching, and my least favorite ELDOA. So we're going to sit on the blocks or on the floor, and this time we're going to cross the legs. I don't like to do the thing where you cross the legs and you bring the feet over like you do in yoga. What I actually prefer to do for this is to do the dorsiflexion, anchor the outside arches of my feet, and think about pulling across this way. And by doing that, I activate the lateral line and help bring my knees close to the ground. Now I have a very narrow pelvis, and with the shape of my hip capsule, I actually have a very difficult time in this position. I naturally want to go up here. For others, it will be more relaxed. That detail is less important. Now from here again, we're going to do our spinal luminous scat. You're going to anchor the sit bones, roll the pelvis forward, push the ribs back, arch chest up, tuck the chin. Okay, now there's two ways that we can start to add the traction from the arms. The more traditional way, so the hands in front of you in a prayer position, and then you start to reach up overhead. Onto the top of the head, reaching up and opposing an upward reach, then pushing the knees down towards the ground. That's one way of doing it. Another way, which I really think it depends on how your shoulders are doing, is I like to reach out here, really pressure the pinky board to get forward traction first, without rounding the upper back, and then reaching up overhead, keeping the elbows locked. So a couple ways to explore it. What I would do is the version where you feel the most work, like the most tension and the most pressure through that mid-thoracic region. Deep breathing. Make sure you don't interlace the fingers. You want to press the hands together, engage the triceps, reach the blades up. Again, 10 deep breaths, 3 seconds in, 3 seconds out. And then slowly easing out of that, 1 arm at a time. Okay. So we've done our L5S1, our C4C5, our L3L4, T6T7, and now we're going to go into our last one, the T8T9, which is funny, it's my favorite ELDOA, even though it's just a couple bumps down, a couple vertebrae down from the T6T7. T8T9 is the axis of rotation in the spine. So when you're walking, that axis is there. And that's significant because when you walk, when you rotate, you stretch paraspinal ligaments on one side of the body. One side of the body shuts off and the other contracts, and then you switch, right? So when you start to lose your rotation, your spine starts to lock up. So that's one of the reasons why I like this one so much. The other one is that it very much mimics just sitting upright. So it's a really great posture to practice for those of you who sit a lot, which is pretty much most of us these days, including myself. Alrighty, so T8T9. I'll actually show this one from a side view, because from the front it's quite simple. You're going to be sitting with your heels sit bone width apart. Alright, so now to do that, see this rounding that I have here? We want to try and get the feet out as much as you need to be able to flatten up that low back. For some of you who are super bendy, you'll be able to bring the feet in really close without that rounding. So find that there. Once you've done that, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to really press in through the big toe. If you want to take it one step forward, you can think about pressing to the base of the big toe, but then lifting the other toes up. This is the start of our leg lemniscat. Lemniscat is opposing the arching to create decompression. Big toe in, toes up. Lower leg bone, the tibia, is going to think about rolling outwards. And then the upper leg bone rolling inwards. So nothing actually moves because it's counter tension. Your leg should be in a nice straight line. Now from here, what I like to do is really anchor the heels. You pull through the heels and connect that to my sit bone to help me straighten up. Once I've done that, I'm going to grab onto my knees. We're going to go pelvis forward, ribs back, chest out, shin tuck, spinal lemniscat. We did in the last two postures. Reach both arms forward, wrist extension, external rotation. And then reach up overhead. I'm reaching up in straight lines, shoulders apart. So the legs are in straight lines. The legs are in straight lines. I'm going to hold that there for 10 deep breaths. Trying to be as tall as you can. Ease out of that. There we go. Cool, good stuff. That's a little bit different. I really took my time today with tutorialing each posture as opposed to ripping through it really quickly like we would in a class. So do this if you want to Patreon. Let me know how it goes, like how you feel about this format as opposed to running through it through the 3 sets. I really like this demo today, so I think I might post it publicly as well to help promote the channel. So for those of you who are watching this who aren't on the Patreon, check it out. Let me know if you have any questions about it. And I hope to see you guys soon. Thank you.